For more than 5 decades, Dolly Parton has mesmerized audiences, bringing magic to every stage and winning hearts worldwide. Her rise from a humble country girl to an international icon is truly remarkable. Yet, beneath all the glitz, towering hairdos, and chart-topping songs, one figure has consistently stayed out of the spotlight: her devoted husband, Carl Dean. Carl has spent decades avoiding the spotlight, keeping his life and marriage to Dolly almost completely private. For years, fans have been intrigued, wondering about the mysterious man Dolly calls her rock. Why has he stayed silent all this time? And more importantly, why is he finally speaking out now? Well, after all these years, Carl Dean is finally breaking his silence. And what he has to say about life with Dolly might just surprise you. Dolly Parton's career isn't just impressive, it's the kind of story that feels almost too magical to be real. But it is real. And the best part? She's lived every second of it with a wink, a laugh, and a whole lot of heart. If you only know Dolly as the glitzy queen of country with an infectious giggle and a personality larger than life, you're barely scratching the surface. She's not just a singer. She's a songwriter, business mogul, philanthropist, actress, and let's be real, a national treasure. And she's done it all while staying 100% unapologetically herself. Born in 1946 in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, Dolly was the fourth of 12 children. 12. Imagine the noise, the chaos. It's no wonder she started singing early. She probably had to get some attention. Her family didn't have much money, but what they did have was music, love, and faith. Church hymns and mountain melodies were her lullabies, and by the time she was a teenager, she knew one thing for sure: she was going to be a star. Dolly wasted no time chasing her dreams. The day after graduating high school, she packed up and moved to Nashville. No backup plan, no second thoughts, just raw talent and unstoppable ambition. Of course, the early days weren't glamorous. Like most struggling artists, Dolly had to hustle. But her big break came in the late 1960s when she landed a spot on the Porter Wagoner Show, one of the biggest country music platforms at the time. Porter Wagoner was a country superstar, and Dolly became his duet partner. This gig didn't just put Dolly in the spotlight, it shaped her career. She honed her stage presence, mastered the art of songwriting, and won over audiences with her signature charm. But here's the thing about Dolly: she was never meant to be in someone else's shadow. By 1974, she was ready to step out on her own. And how did she announce her departure from Wagoner's show? Not with a press release, not with a dramatic exit. She wrote, "I Will Always Love You," a heartfelt musical breakup letter. That's right, when Dolly moves on, she doesn't just send a text, she writes a timeless classic. Of course, years later, Whitney Houston's cover of the song turned it into one of the biggest hits in history. But Dolly's original version still hits right in the heart. Once she went solo, Dolly took off like a rocket. The 70s and 80s were packed with smash hits: Jolene, the ultimate heartbreak anthem; Coat of Many Colors, a deeply personal song about growing up poor but rich in love; 9 to 5, a feminist anthem that became a rallying cry for working women everywhere. Each song had that special Dolly touch, authentic, heartfelt storytelling that people connected with on a deep level. Take Coat of Many Colors, a song about her mother sewing her a coat from scraps because they couldn't afford a new one. Instead of feeling ashamed, Dolly wore that coat with pride because it was made with love. That's Dolly in a nutshell, finding beauty and strength in everything. What makes Dolly truly unique? She refuses to be boxed in. Yes, she's the queen of country, but she's also crossed over into pop, gospel, and bluegrass just because she can. Her song, 9 to 5, from the movie she starred in, became a cultural phenomenon. It was catchy, fun, and packed with real, relatable struggles. That's Dolly's magic, turning everyday life into music that speaks to millions. But Dolly didn't stop at just making records. She took on Hollywood, starring in hit films like Steel Magnolias, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Only Dolly Parton could go from writing gut-wrenching heartbreak songs to starring in hilarious comedies with ease. And let's be honest, her laugh alone is enough to light up any room. If you don't crack a smile when Dolly Parton laughs, you might need to check your pulse. And just when you think she's done it all, she goes and builds a theme park. Yes, in the mid-80s, Dolly launched Dollywood, a Tennessee-based amusement park that's as fun and wholesome as you'd expect. Because why just sing about dreams when you can literally build a place where people can experience them? But Dollywood isn't just about thrilling roller coasters and lively country music shows. It's something much bigger. The park has provided thousands of jobs and given back to the very community where Dolly grew up. One of the most heartwarming things she's ever done? The Imagination Library. What started as a small initiative to give free books to kids in her hometown has now grown into a global program, sending millions of books to children all over the world. Dolly has always believed that education is the key to a brighter future, and through this program, she's helping kids everywhere dream big, just like she did. And if you thought Dolly had slowed down, think again. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, she didn't just sit back and watch. She took action, donating $1 million to help fund vaccine research. That donation ended up playing a crucial role in the development of the mRNA vaccine. It's just another example of how Dolly doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk. But with all her success, there have always been whispers, rumors about her personal life, speculation about her marriage, and endless questions from fans. Are the rumors true? What do those closest to her have to say? And most importantly, why has her husband, Carl Dean, suddenly decided to break his silence after all these years? For decades, Carl has remained an enigma, a mystery that has fascinated fans just as much as Dolly's music. Many have wondered, who is this man who has spent over 50 years by her side, yet stayed completely out of the spotlight? Well, after all this time, Carl Dean is finally speaking out. So, who exactly is Carl Dean, the man who has been content to stay behind the scenes while Dolly built a global empire? Born on July 20, 1942, in Nashville, Tennessee, Carl has lived a quiet, low-profile life from the very start. Even as a young man, he had no interest in fame or the entertainment world. While Dolly was chasing her dreams in country music, Carl was focused on something completely different, running his own asphalt paving business. Their lifestyles couldn't have been more different, and yet, that's exactly what makes their love story so unique. From the very beginning, Carl was a hardworking, down-to-earth man who valued privacy over attention. Their first meeting? It sounds like something out of a romance novel. It was 1964. Dolly had just moved to Nashville, an 18-year-old with big dreams and a voice that could stop anyone in their tracks. She was standing outside a laundromat when Carl drove by in his pickup truck. According to Dolly, he leaned out the window, their eyes met, and just like that, something sparked. They started talking, hit it off instantly, and before long, they were inseparable. Just 2 years later, in 1966, they tied the knot in a small private ceremony in Ringgold, Georgia. No cameras, no paparazzi, no extravagant celebrity wedding, just Dolly, Carl, her mother, and the preacher. It was intimate, simple, and exactly how Carl wanted it. But here's where things get even more interesting. While Dolly's star power exploded and she became a household name, Carl made a decision early on. He wanted nothing to do with the limelight. And for over 5 decades, he stayed true to that decision. He rarely, if ever, attended public events with Dolly. In fact, there were so few public appearances of Carl that, for years, some fans joked that he didn't even exist. Dolly, however, has always been upfront about Carl's distaste for fame. She's often joked in interviews that Carl would rather go to the dentist than walk a red carpet. That's just who he is, a quiet, private man who prefers a simple life. But don't mistake Carl's silence for a lack of support. While Dolly was busy traveling the world and captivating audiences, Carl remained her rock. Behind the scenes, he was her biggest cheerleader, providing the stability she needed to stay grounded in an industry known for its chaos. Still, the media has been fascinated with Carl for years, constantly speculating, why would someone married to one of the biggest stars in the world choose to remain invisible? But for Carl, fame was never the dream. His dream was a peaceful, private life, and he found that with Dolly. So why, after all these years, has Carl finally decided to break his silence? What changed? And what does he have to say about his life with Dolly? Well, in a rare interview, Carl finally revealed why he's chosen now to share his side of the story. And trust us, you're going to want to hear it. Over the years, Dolly and Carl's marriage has become a defining part of her public image. But while the world sees it as a fairy tale, Carl wanted to set the record straight. Not to fuel rumors or grab attention, but to share what life has truly been like for him, living in the background while Dolly became a global icon. His interview wasn't about controversy. It was a celebration of a love story that has lasted over 5 decades. In his own words, Carl said, "I've always been amazed by her talent and her heart. She lights up every room she walks into, Hasina, and it's been a joy to support her from the background." Carl has always preferred a quiet, private life, but that doesn't mean he isn't proud of Dolly and everything she's accomplished. In fact, watching her succeed has been a source of deep pride for him, even if he's never been one to crave the spotlight. So what's the secret to their lasting marriage? Carl shared that the key isn't in grand gestures or flashy displays of love. It's in the little things. Despite Dolly's incredibly demanding career, they've always made time for each other. One of their favorite traditions? Spontaneous road trips. No set destination, no agenda. Just the two of them, enjoying each other's company. These quiet moments, away from the cameras and crowds, are what keep their bond strong. It's clear that their marriage isn't built on Hollywood glitz and glamour. It's built on something much deeper: mutual respect, a shared sense of humor, and a love for life's simple joys. And humor, Carl says, plays a huge role in their relationship. Even after all these years, they still make each other laugh every single day. "We've always been able to laugh at life and at ourselves," Carl shared. "It keeps us young. It keeps us connected." Dolly has echoed this sentiment in interviews, often calling Carl one of the funniest people she knows. Through all the challenges, all the pressures of fame, laughter has been their secret weapon. Of course, their relationship hasn't been without its share of speculation. For decades, tabloids have run wild with rumors, some even claiming that they were secretly divorced. But Carl's recent comments put all those whispers to rest. He made one thing very clear: their marriage has always been built on trust and loyalty. No matter how much the world speculated, he and Dolly never wavered in their commitment to each other. Dolly, always one to handle rumors with humor, once joked that Carl had an imaginary twin brother she was supposedly having an affair with, because the media could never actually find him. But perhaps the most surprising thing Carl shared in his interview was his perspective on Dolly's public persona. To the world, she's a larger-than-life star, a glamorous legend. But to Carl, she's just Dolly. "When we're at home, she's in sweats or a robe, and that's the Dolly I love the most," he admitted. It's a sweet reminder that, despite all the fame, fortune, and flashing lights, Dolly is still the same Tennessee girl Carl fell in love with all those years ago. Now that we've cleared up the rumors and heard from Carl himself, let's talk about another long-standing mystery: Dolly's tattoos. For years, fans have speculated about whether she's secretly covered in ink. After all, she's often seen wearing long sleeves or high-neck outfits, which only fueled the theories. Some believed she had a full-body collection of tattoos that she was hiding. But what's the truth? Well, Dolly has addressed this herself in interviews, and yes, she does have tattoos, but not in the way people might think. She's not covered head to toe in bold, dramatic designs. Instead, her tattoos are small, delicate, and deeply personal. She's explained that many of them are soft pastel-colored and were done to cover scars or marks from past medical procedures. Instead of letting her scars be a source of insecurity, Dolly turned them into something beautiful. Rather than covering them up with shame, she chose to transform them with delicate, meaningful tattoos. She's even shared that she has a few butterflies, a fitting choice, considering her deep love for them. If you know anything about Dolly, you know butterflies are her signature. They symbolize transformation, freedom, and beauty, much like the way she's lived her life. Alongside butterflies, she's hinted at having small flowers and other personal symbols inked onto her skin. Every tattoo tells a story, representing a part of her journey. But while Dolly has always found creative ways to express herself, there's one part of her life that she's spoken about with a touch of sadness: never having children. Over the years, she has opened up about this deeply personal topic. While her legendary career has brought her immense joy, she has admitted that not becoming a mother is something she has reflected on with a bit of regret. At one point, she and her husband, Carl Dean, did consider having children. But life had other plans. Due to health complications, including a hysterectomy in the 1980s, their dream of starting a family never materialized. Dolly has been refreshingly honest about it in interviews. She has wondered at times what life would have been like if she had children of her own. But at the same time, she's made peace with it. In true Dolly fashion, she found a way to turn her circumstances into something positive. She has said that not having kids gave her the freedom to focus on her career, build a lasting legacy, and most importantly, find other ways to nurture and impact people's lives. Through her music, her philanthropy, and the deep bond she shares with her nieces, nephews, and godchildren, Dolly has poured her love into the world in countless ways. One of the most incredible ways she's done this is through her Imagination Library, a program that has provided millions of free books to children across the world. She often says that while she never raised children of her own, she has found fulfillment in helping to educate and inspire young minds. So yes, she has had moments of reflection and those inevitable what-if thoughts. But in true Dolly fashion, she chose to turn it into something beautiful. She found ways to give back, to spread love, and to leave an unforgettable mark on the world. Now, speaking of unforgettable, most people know Jolene as one of Dolly's most iconic songs. But do you know the real story behind it? Let's get into it. The story behind Jolene is just as intriguing as the song itself. If you've ever found yourself belting out those famous lyrics, you've probably wondered, who is Jolene? And why was she after Dolly's man? Well, the truth is, the song is a mix of sweetness, a little jealousy, and a whole lot of real-life inspiration. First, let's talk about the name. The name Jolene actually came from a charming, real-life encounter. Dolly once met a young girl at an autograph signing who had the most striking red hair and green eyes. When the girl told her that her name was Jolene, Dolly was instantly captivated. That name, she thought, belonged in a song. And honestly, can you blame her? Jolene practically sings itself. But here's where things get even juicier. While the name came from that little girl, the story behind the song came from something far more personal and a little spicier. You see, back in the day, there was a woman who worked at a local bank. And let's just say she was a little too friendly with Carl Dean. Now, if you know anything about Carl, you know he is one of the most private men on the planet. While Dolly is out there shining in rhinestones and sequins, Carl is perfectly content living a quiet life, far away from the spotlight. But apparently, that didn't stop this bank teller from shamelessly flirting with him every time he stopped by. Dolly, with her signature humor and charm, turned the situation into one of the greatest songs of all time. Instead of confronting the woman or making a fuss, she channeled her emotions into her music. The result? A haunting, soulful ballad that has stood the test of time. And just like that, Jolene was born. It's yet another example of Dolly's ability to take life's challenges, whether personal struggles, regrets, or moments of jealousy, and turn them into something truly unforgettable. And that's exactly why we love her. In the song, the narrator pleads with Jolene not to take her man, fully acknowledging just how captivating and irresistible Jolene is. The lyrics, "Your beauty is beyond compare. I cannot compete with you, Jolene," perfectly capture that universal feeling of self-doubt and fear. We've all been there. That moment when you wonder, am I good enough? Could someone else steal the person I love? But here's the funny part. Dolly and Carl's marriage, rock solid. Over 50 years together and still going strong. So, while Dolly might have felt that pang of jealousy back then, she clearly had nothing to worry about. Still, the song taps into a very real and relatable feeling. No matter how secure you are in a relationship, sometimes those little doubts creep in. Writing Jolene helped Dolly work through it. Instead of letting jealousy fester, she transformed it into something unforgettable. Something we're all still singing today. Now here's what makes Jolene even more interesting. Instead of blaming or attacking Jolene, the narrator in the song does something unexpected. She admits her admiration. She doesn't lash out. She doesn't call her names. Instead, she takes a completely empathetic approach. She acknowledges Jolene's beauty and power, but rather than hating her for it, she pleads with her for mercy. That's a wild shift from how most people would handle this kind of situation, right? Dolly once explained that she wanted Jolene to understand her power, but didn't want to turn her into a villain. That's rare. Because let's be honest, most of us would be ready to throw down if someone was getting too friendly with our partner. But Dolly? She turned her emotions into a plea for understanding. And that's exactly what makes Jolene so timeless. Since its release, Jolene has been covered by countless artists, from the White Stripes to Miley Cyrus. And while every version brings something fresh, nothing quite captures the raw emotion of Dolly's original. That's why the song has stood the test of time. It's relatable, emotional, and powerful. A song you can belt out in your car when you're feeling some type of way. And honestly, there's no better feeling than singing Jolene at the top of your lungs.